G'day, everyone out there, and welcome to a very special episode of DeFi Down Under, which is now for today's going to be MMA Down Under. Welcome and thanks for joining us, Don fan, Street Buddha. How you going there, mate?
I'm going really good, bro. I'm going good.
Awesome. Yeah, we're really privileged to be able to have the opportunity to chat to you. So yeah, thanks for coming on, and hoping that all the Hexagons out there can sort of get behind Dom, because you've got your it's the Road to UFC Shanghai fight coming up like very soon, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, on the 23rd it'll be.
Holy moly. So you've just been into some mad training camp, have you? Just intense training, I'm guessing.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I've been loving it. It's been a good camp so far. I'm at a point in my career where I really feel like a professional in the way that like I know how to deal with each and every aspect of camp. Like I really do know how to love the process now. Like there were times where, like different parts of the camp I'd like more than others, but now it's like each part of the camp I know how to appreciate it and really like love it.
Yeah, embrace the pain. I think just sort of put all the work in the camp, so that when you come out on the day, it's like you can just go on instinct, and I'm guessing that's how it goes anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to bring up your fight record here. So hopefully everyone can sort of see this. Let me know in the chat if there's any problems with the audio or whatever, if you can't see this. But yeah, going through your fights from like Eternal MMA, I guess were the main ones I had access to on Fight Pass and a few other things. It looked like there was a real sort of rapid improvement from, I mean, you're still very young, right? Like you're only just turned 25. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're very young, but you still managed to put in a very formidable record already, from obviously heaps and heaps of amateur fights, but even your professional card, and they're all by, from what I can tell, pretty awesome submissions and knockouts, and like they're sort of like a crowd favorite sort of style of finish. Like you're not leaving it up to the judges.
Yeah, I like primarily I'm a grappler, but I'm here to make grappling great again. I'm not a fan of
Awesome.
lay and pray style grappling. I'm always, when I'm grappling, I'm doing it with a purpose. I'm trying to hunt for a finish. I'm trying to damage the guy. I'm trying to change his face a little bit.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Far out. I mean, we saw from that intro clip with your fight highlights, like that's some pretty vicious stuff. You've got some impressive tools in the arsenal. There's triangle chokes. There's a win here by armbar, TKOs, a rear naked choke, of course, guillotine choke. But you can kind of tell. I mean, here we go as well, or more rear naked chokes as well, and just punches. But you can kind of tell, you've got the well-rounded MMA style where you've got the strikes, but so you could, if you take him to the ground, it's like even some of the commenters sort of say sometimes they're like, now it's in Dom's world, like if you can take it to the ground, then it's just like you're like a prodigious submission artist. So it's like you're quite deadly. And so yeah. I guess the other thing is, when you start throwing strikes in, because a lot of people just do BJJ, and it's very different when a lot of people can kind of rest in guard or something like that, and they feel like they're not in danger. But once you start throwing strikes in, it's like all of a sudden the pressure is just right there. And I feel like you have a really good style of sort of keeping that pressure on and not letting your opponent kind of get up and do things. Is that like a Compton? So you fight out of Compton Training Center in Brisbane. Is that like something that's you've got from those guys, or?
Yeah, we're all pressure fighters, and we're all quite violent in our approach to fighting. Like our head coach Steve Compton, like he's real about damage and like real combat. Like we're not out here trying to win a sport. We're out here
Mm,
trying to fucking kill the other guy. You know, like
yeah.
in essence, like it is a combat sport. That is the whole idea. And like no one from our gym is really trying to like game their way to a victory, whilst kind of using the rules of the sport. Like we're more about the fact of like, if this was a street fight, which of us is going to walk out? Like which one of us is going to
Mm.
win? And I use my grappling with that sense, you know, like I think when I pick someone up and I slam them down, I think, hey, if this was on the concrete, I'd knock this guy out, you know. When I'm on the ground and I'm elbowing this guy in the head, and I'm cutting him open, I still think like that translates exactly to like if this was a real street fight, you know, if there was no
Oh, wow.
referee there, I'm about to kill this guy type of thing.
Wow, awesome. Yeah, yeah. It's just like maximum violence, maximum efficiency. I guess that's sort of the key because sometimes people in various martial arts disciplines they're going for points and things like that, and it's like that's not what this is. This is just like trying to finish. So no, I really like your style. Very very fun to watch, just as a fan. And I was hoping that yeah we could go through some clips and just sort of talk about your style a little bit. I noticed, or even on your Instagram, in fact, there was a particular video where I saw you do like some judo sweeps, and it looked like you had some judo throws. But obviously, you've got all of the tools, the Muay Thai and the BJJ. But what sort of styles have you learned over the years that have kind of got you to where you are? Like your amalgamation of all your skills, have they come from different styles? Like, have you done a bit of kung fu, a bit of boxing, or whatever, or is it just you've just been doing MMA as a whole? Yeah.
Yeah, so I started off kind of uh where I just started trying to do MMA in general. So I did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, and wrestling kind of all at the same time that I started like learning MMA. And I picked to Jiu-Jitsu the quickest, and then it took me a little bit longer, but then I eventually like picked to wrestling, and I started like, you know, like learning at a faster rate and really picking it up. And then it wasn't until I moved to Team Compton that I really started picking up my like striking and understanding like
Mm,
not just the striking, but like how striking can be used in MMA to set your wrestling up properly and to complement
yeah.
it. You know, before that, it was a little bit more like if I got to your leg, I'd take you down, but I'd probably wear like 3 or 4 punches on the way in to
Right.
get there. And
Yeah.
yeah, Steve Compton definitely was able to help change my game and help me understand like um, striking as a whole and a holistic approach that helped to assist my game.
Awesome.
I've across the years kind of like dabbled in. I've done some judo. I've done some like I'll do some pure boxing like here and there. Um, I would describe myself as a bit of a student of the game. Like I like
Mm,
learning how things are done. Um, like you pointed out, like my grappling style is like a kind of a bit of a combination of a few things. Like you can see the influence of jujitsu, judo, wrestling, um,
mm.
Sambo, because I've done a little bit, I've done a lot of research. I'm a nerd for this type of stuff, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like,
Awesome.
it'll be kind of thing like I'm training multiple times per day, but then in between I'll try to find times to fit study in where I jump on my laptop. I'm watching different instructionals. I'm watching different fights. I'm watching how different people
Mm,
do different things. Um, Almost to a detriment at one point. Like I think I became too fixated on like you know what I was going to do in my next training. But
interesting. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with it. It's actually been a bit of a process working with my mindset coach to try to like taper that back a little bit because um
Mm.
yeah, like it was definitely at the point where it was like a bit ridiculous and like almost hindering my my results.
Yeah, I completely can sort of understand that because you know, I just do like amateur MMA training and that as well. But yeah, that mindset. So a couple of things. You mentioned that you had some wrestling and some sambo and also like the pressure that you had. I mean, the Dagestani fighters in the UFC have had a lot of success with that pressure sort of style. And I noticed that you had like there was one of the clips maybe I can show it later where you did this massive like, oh actually you saw it at the start and you basically picked him up and did like a massive like wrestling slam. It just reminded me of like Matt Hughes from the early days of UFC. Um, but that talking about that entry and you know, setting up the strikes, I have noticed that over your fights, your head movement, your hands are a lot higher, and you're sort of protecting your head a lot more, which is like obviously the evolution of striking. But just using that to create angles to sort of set up an entry for like a takedown, I think that's yeah, that's been really fun to watch. But yeah, that mindset you think that you sort of saying as well, like I have that problem a little bit, where if you overthink it too much when you're fighting, right? So then that's why you just have to, at some point, you know, you've honed your tools, and you actually have to just rely on instinct. And I'm assuming that's what, you know, elite fighters are just at that level. They have access to that instinct level where they're not thinking and it's just flows. I mean, it seems like that from watching your fights, that you're just flowing and you're not overthinking it.
Yeah, and that I would say is like you said, a big evolution in my game, because it didn't always used to be that way. Like it used to be, fighting was a lot more difficult for me because I would overthink everything. Um, and this is the way I kind of like I also teach jujitsu, so like I teach people about like competing and stuff. So the way that I explain it to people is I think we use so much of our time being like someone who's good at training. And what I mean by this is that like we're spending so much time in the training room where, let's say I do a movement and it fails. Immediately after it's just failed, you spend that time now thinking about why it failed. That way you can
Right.
improve. You go, why did I just fail? How can I fix that for next time? Right?
Mhm.
In a fight, there's no benefit to this, right? In training, there's a huge benefit because it helps skill development. In a fight, it doesn't matter why you did it wrong. You need to just immediately go to the next move,
Right.
right?
Okay.
So you'll get a lot of people that like, I think you'll see like a lot of people with like a little bit more fighter about them, and different people that have a little bit more like martial artist about them. And I think the martial
Right.
artists, they get caught in that state where they're like, you know, they're constantly self-analyzing, constantly thinking about how they can do things
Right.
better. But then I think a lot of those guys, you would have met some, I'm sure, that are phenomenal in the gym. You put them in the cage and then they fight like shit. And I would say that's why, right? A lot of the time they might fight another guy who they're better than, but the other guy's going off of instinct, right? And the other guy is
Yeah.
just reactionary. Likewise, then on this fighter side, you have some fighters where they do really well in their fights. You meet them in the gym, you hit them with one move, and then you go, shit, I can just keep hitting this guy with this move over and over and over and over again. And the guy can't seem to find his way out. And it's like sometimes the fighter gets too caught up in like, oh, I'm just focusing on the thing that's directly in front of me, that they
Mm.
never end up being able to really self-analyze and really reflect in a way that like skyrockets your skills. So for me, it's been a process of trying to get myself out of camp to try to embody that martial artist, okay, that student where I'm
Yeah.
self-analyzing, I'm trying to perfect my
Experimenting as
craft.
well. And
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm being playful. Um, and then in camp, especially like in the probably 4 weeks out from a fight, where I'm trying to
Mhm.
really sharpen everything, and to the point where I'm trusting my reactions.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
relying on instinct, and now everything's happening a lot faster. And if you do this process right, it should make for a really nice end picture. You know, where you have all the skills of the martial artist, but you can perform like the fighter. So then you end up being this much better picture.
Yeah, I think 100%, man. I think what I've found is all it does is it shaves milliseconds as well. Like, you know, if you're thinking in an experimental mindset when you're rolling with people or sparring with people, and that's great. But then when it gets intense, you don't have time to think. Like, you have to then drop out of that because you're going to shave milliseconds out of it for that reaction. That's going to make the difference. And then also that killer instinct, I think, to push the pressure when you see uh like an opponent has taken on some damage, or see an opponent that has a deficiency, to push that's something else, isn't it? It's like, not everyone has that killer instinct, but I've seen in your fights that you have obviously pushed that. But it seems like even in other sports as well, great teams and things like that have really gone for the jugular when they see their opponent sort of up against the ropes, and then rather than giving them time and space to just push, and then it forces them to make errors and capitulate. So yeah, it's interesting that mindset of that killer instinct. I want to show some of your clips that maybe it might illustrate that, but also want to see what the chat is saying here. So what is up? I feel like that's Davik with the 7. I'm not sure, but what's up? What's up? Good to see you in here. G'day, True Blue. He's a co-host here at DeFi Down Under. Hexagon, Lost in Asia, LFG for sure. I think there's a lot of overlap between people who are into crypto. So yeah, because this is predominantly a crypto channel. We talk about all sorts of things, you know, politics and philosophy and physics and weird stuff, and quite often we go into MMA tangents, and then we sort of have to bring it back a little bit. But I think there's a lot of overlap between sort of crypto people who are by nature, you know, sort of, they're not risk adverse. Like, they're taking on massive risk with their finances, you know, investing in this sort of stuff, and then they tend to be into mixed martial arts as well. So yeah, what is up, Hexagon, Lost in Asia? That's me. What else we got here? Claz, what's up? Smash the like and subscribe. Yes, please. Yeah, if you can, like and subscribe. Appreciate that. Quinny Jin, what is up? What else we got here? Clintrons, sup, bro? Ash, g'day. And so I've sort of been fortunate enough to interview you because one of our friends and Hexagons is, I think, a student of one of yours. So that's how I sort of managed to get this. So yeah, shout out to Nick. He's been helpful. He's actually given me a couple of questions for you as well. So I might try and sort of put them in at some point. I just wanted to show some clips, just some small ones, and just get your thoughts on them. So I'll sort of start, like, you can see, I mean, I can zoom in on this, but you can sort of see in some of your earlier fights, you might have maybe, yeah, there's an evolution. Like, I feel like your gas tank's gotten better, your guard's gotten better, your head movement, all this sort of stuff. So you probably look at some of these clips and think, oh, that was quite a while ago. But I guess it's only, yeah, it's because you're so young as well. It's funny. But let me have a look here. So this one was Eternal 65. And yeah, shout out to the Eternal guys. So I've been watching a lot of these fights, and they're awesome. So let me just pull this one up.
It's been the story of the night, really. It's people like, there's been everyone's had a bit of controversy, minus the Jamie Spawn fight. There's been a bit of controversy for everyone, and it's been about who's managed that better and come back.
Well, we've seen crazier things in the sport, haven't we, Ben? Which is why we love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, again, it's one of them that could go either way, and you couldn't have too much of a problem with it, whichever way it went. But credit to both these young lads, like, starting out in their career. That's another high.
So I really liked a couple of things about that. I mean, one was that you were quite sort of loose. So as he sort of rolled, you maintained that top position, and it was like you were going to take his back, you were going to get full mount, but you weren't sort of locked to him, which was really interesting because, yeah, I just thought, is that something you have always done, or do you consciously do that, or is that like a training thing that your coaches talk about? Or
Yeah. So for me, top position is king. Saying it's running out of battery.
oh, that's cool. If you want to get a
1
charger or
second.
something, I can just
It's plugged in, but I don't know what's going on here. And it's
no
telling me that.
dramas.
I think it's just not plugged into the port properly. Right, now we're good. Yeah,
Okay.
so yeah, top position's always king for me. I'm never someone that likes to roll to take the back or anything like that. Or
To stay
like, I
fixed
don't like to
almost.
play guard too much either. I think it's harder to impose your grappling on them as much. Whereas like I think if I'm on top, they're kind of forced to play the game that I'm playing. Like there's no
Yeah.
oh well I'll just stand back up like they potentially could if they're in your guard. There's you're
Yeah,
kind of
right.
forcing them into your game, which I like. I'm always about that. Yeah, that fight that was my pro debut. That was a lot of learning I got from that fight. You'll see that at the start of the clip where I started landing the jab. The jab is my favorite punch now, and before that, I didn't use it all that much. I didn't understand the effect of it because you throw the jab when you're in the gym, and like a lot of people kind of use it just to set things up. And my coach had always kind of stressed to me like the effect of like when you're in 4-ounce gloves, like the jab can be money. It can do so
Stiff.
much. And
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was literally in that fight that I started to discover it. The commentator actually made a good call during the fight. Because I started to pop the jab, but it wasn't until the third round that I started to do that. And his head started snapping back from each of the punches. And
Wow.
before that, I had pretty much like done nothing with my hands, like a little bit of like razzle dazzle to like get him distracted, and then I'd like shoot.
Yeah, yeah.
But then I was like, oh my God, like this works. Like, why didn't I do this before? This is great. The commentator actually pointed it out at the same time, like when, oh, Dom's going to be kicking himself that he didn't start using this before. And I was at the time thinking, fuck, I wish I had started using this before.
Yeah, because a lot of people use that jab as just to feel out range, don't they? But they're not actually trying
Yes.
to inflict damage with it. They're just using it to set up something, just to gauge range. I mean, I guess that's
I've
part of
got I like to think my jab's pretty versatile, that I can use it for a bunch of different tools. But I also believe I can do quite a lot of damage with my jab.
Oh, yeah.
And it kind of can dictate the fight if you use it right.
Right. And those downward elbows, like just vicious. You can almost see the look on the guy's face. They're just not expecting them to come from that angle.
Yes, yeah. I remember in the first round, I think there was some like maybe more average elbows, and it because that was my first time throwing elbows in a fight. Because under MMA rules, it's amateur, you're not allowed to throw elbows, and pro you
Is that
are.
right? Oh,
Yeah, and like it's one of those things you can't really throw in the gym on another person because you'll
yeah.
hurt them. So you kind of have to pull it in front of the guy. And I remember in the first round, I kind of threw a few, and like one of them missed really bad, and then the other one just like touched his face, and I was like, shit, okay, this isn't as easy as I thought. So literally throughout that fight, I was figuring out how to throw the elbows like in the
Wow.
fight, and I ended up in that last round there like cracking him with a few, which was nice. But you can see the progression, like as I've gone on in my fights, I've kept that experience with me. I can use that as a reference so that when I am training, I can make my elbows accurate to what like an actual fight is.
Yeah, I guess there's, because you can use them just to create a small cut, right? And then once you've opened it up, then you can open it up more like throughout the fight. Like just because you've got like razor sharp elbows, you can see in a few fights that you just touch them with your elbows and they just start bleeding. And it's like, yeah, then you can and then the blood can kind of affect their vision, to say the least. And then you can use that, like, if it's affecting their peripherals or whatever. But or you could just do the elbows for like maximum damage as well. Like you can get a lot of power from elbows. So that's I mean, I love elbows. I'm a huge fan, but like you say, hard to do it in sparring. So you have to let them know that they're there. But yeah, very cool to see it in action. The other thing that I really liked seeing, maybe it was just me, but was this crucifix. Let me show you this. You feel free to talk over it. I think you can still talk while this is going.
One of Dom Marfan's training teammates at Team Compton Training Center. He says if this fight goes to the ground, Taser's in trouble. And it seems to be the story thus far. Nonetheless, don't count Malone out just yet.
As he moves to mount, Taser looking for that Kimura again, but Dom Marfan was able to capitalize it and get into secure a mount position as he steps off in the side control. Dom Marfan looks really comfortable on the ground right now.
Well, they're going hammer and tong here.
Nice crucifix there and letting them punches fly.
Landing punches at will is Dom Marfan. And he's locked up that left arm. Tough for Taser at this stage, Kyle.
Yeah, absolutely. He's doing a great job of cowtailing the right arm there, and he's secured the left arm. There's really nowhere for Taser to go. He really has to off-balance Dom now and get out. And there's his opportunity to slip that left arm free. Dom looking for his own submission. They're looking for his own Kimura. It's in great position to get it.
Was known for his Kimura. And
sorry,
I wanted to
bro.
take that off of him.
Sorry to interrupt. Your mic was muted while that was playing, so
no.
I think it automatically mutes you. Yes,
that's all good.
Because I can see you talking, and I'm just like, I don't want to interrupt the clip, but I also wanted to hear your insights on it. But for some reason, it automatically mutes you when that clip goes. So
that's all good. I can go again if you want.
Yeah. Or what were you just saying about that? So because I couldn't hear you.
So I was saying that last little bit there where I started to go for the Kimura, and I had stopped going for the crucifix finish, was actually because he was known for his Kimura. I knew like he had quite a few finishes in fights from it. And then also in like jiu-jitsu comps, it seemed to be his thing. And I felt so dominant from the crucifix position. I was like, oh, he's going nowhere. So I was like, okay, I'm going to switch over to the Kimura just as a little bit of a like, hey guys, like I can do this shit. Because I remember at the time that guy was kind of like, I don't know, he had a very good record at the time. Maybe like, I don't know, 4-1 as an amateur, and people were touting him as like the top amateur in the state. And like whenever I hear especially back then when I was an amateur, a little bit less mature, whenever I hear something like that, like I was almost offended. I was like, oh, okay, you're gonna say he's better than me. We'll see about that. And as a result, I tried to go for the Kimura. It's not one of my go-to submissions at all. But it was just something that I grabbed onto because I was like, oh, okay, like I'm gonna show everyone. This will be a statement if I go finish him from his own move. Unfortunately, he ended up standing back up because of it. But
yeah, exactly, but that's actually really interesting insight into like your competitive spirit there, because that actually reminds me of, I don't know if you've seen the Michael Jordan documentary Last Dance. Have you seen that?
No.
Oh, wow. So Michael Jordan, in that, he talks about how there would be commentators that would talk about this new up and coming rookie in the NBA, and he would go out of his way to like humiliate that guy, like just sort of show him, put him in his place. He was so competitive, and like anyone that, even teammates and shit like that, that anyone would just talking up at any point, he would go out and score like 40 points on like in the game against that person. Just something about his competitiveness. So that's interesting to see that you have that same thing where you want to be the best and you want people to sort of acknowledge you as the best. So that's wicked, man. That crucifix. So on Tuesday night I was training and I managed to do a sort of a circular armbar. The guy's trying to take me down, and I sort of did a uchimata, threw him down, so went straight into side control. And I had this like Kasekatami, I don't know how to say it, but it's like a Kasekatami sort of position where I've got one arm there, and then I'm sort of side control across his body like that. And then I realized, oh, holy crap, I can just grab this arm and put it between my leg and then crucifix. I was just like,
yeah,
bro. And he just was like, I can't move.
Yeah.
So you just have
it's
to
a
stop.
nice feeling. It's a very
like,
nice feeling. It feels so dominant.
Yeah, I was like the first time I've ever actually pulled off a crucifix like during sparring.
Yeah.
But then when I saw yours one, I was like, that's amazing. And then the fact that you kind of almost let it go to set up that that Kimura. Well, I thought maybe you were going to do some sort of armbar like across it, but I'm thinking far out. Once you got that crucifix, like it's hard. Like that's got to be the worst position to be in if you're in.
Yeah. I at the time, like I was like, oh, I'm about to finish this fight, and I just decided that I could do whatever I wanted to finish it. You know, like
interesting.
Because like I was like, oh, I'm gonna finish it from ground and pound, but I'm like, oh, it'll be cooler if I did a Kimura. Just because
I wondered, why you would let it go as well. That's interesting. That's okay. That's really cool that you had that thing in your head that because he was good at Kimuras, you wanted to finish him by Kimura.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a couple here. I mean, these are just like showcasing all of your sort of skills. You might have to unmute if you can talk over it, but this was, I think, a leg triangle.
Great show of strength there. Once again, he locks up. It looks like up a triangle now.
So, can you hear me now?
Yes, indeed. And Dom Marfin turning the tables on Taser here. In round number 2. That looks tight, Kyle.
It does, but I don't think he's quite got enough now. It looks a lot tighter. I think he's tapped.
There's the tap. Dom Marfin.
Wow.
By submission.
Yeah. I probably could hear you. Sorry, I was muted that time.
Yeah, that's all good. With the triangle, I remember with that triangle, he as I was we were both kind of facing the ground there for a second. When trying to defend it, he like pushed his foot and his toes went in my mouth. And I remember thinking, like, this motherfucker. So I held on to it a little bit extra after the ref had tried to like pull me off, because I was like, no, you're going to sleep now. You don't put your foot in my mouth and get to stay conscious at the same time.
That's brutal. The toe in the mouth. We caught that.
Yeah.
But that was good,
I used to use. Sorry, you go.
No. Go ahead. There's a slight delay.
Okay.
It always happens. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I used to use a lot more bottom game when I would just train in general and when I would fight. It wasn't till my second pro fight where I lost to Quillen Salkild that and he was in my close guard in the first round. He's very good. He's very, very skilled. And then he started cracking me with elbows, and like my guard stuff stopped working because he had really good posture and base and ability to like slide out of anything I was going to offer him. And then in that moment, I was like, okay, I guess guard does not work like I thought it did. So then from then on, I just like I used a lot more top game. I always have favored top game, but it was kind of like if I got put on the bottom, it'd be like not the worst thing for me. Like all my best submissions came off my back when I was an amateur. So it almost used to be like, okay, I'll just sub you then. And it used to be something I was okay with. Like if you look at I think it was just those 2 amateur fights where I got put on my back. Like I got like somewhat taken down. And immediately after I subbed both of those guys. So like
you got that leg triangle on like straight away. It was just like bam.
Yes. Yeah. Triangle's definitely one of my was always like my favorite submission through the amateur ranks. I did a bunch of jiu-jitsu comps when I was a white belt, a blue belt, and a few when I was a purple belt. And up until blue belt, up until like late blue belt, I was so guard orientated. Like I would flying submissions, I would triangle, armbar, anything. Mainly because like I didn't really fully understand the point system, nor did I really give a fuck about it. So like I was only ever trying to submit people. I wasn't trying to sweep. I wasn't trying to do anything. I was just trying to submit them every time. Which worked a lot. I think in my first year of competing, I got 15 gold medals for competing. So yeah, like and pretty much anytime I was winning back then, it was via submission.
Holy moly. Okay. Jeez.
Yeah, there were times where I was well, because I would enter in multiple divisions sometimes, you know, like in states, I won the grand final for states, sorry. And I won it via a triangle. I think I was down like 12 points or something like that, like very much losing. But like that was all irrelevant to me. Like I was just trying to submit this guy, and then I ended up subbing with like 5 seconds left. So yeah, that was like amateur dom, like was only ever about submission. Like that was the only thing that mattered.
Awesome. Yeah, that's wicked. I mean, that's what people want to see, right? Like if it goes to because that's, I mean, you're the road to UFC. I'm assuming, you know, your end goal here is you want to go to the UFC, you want to become lightweight champion. I'm assuming that's your
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So like, and so what would you have to do to become lightweight champion in the Eternal MMA?
Well, actually, we were looking at booking that fight right before we found out about Road to UFC. We'd actually had already accepted it, but we were waiting on the other side to accept as well. And then like this came along, so we were like, "Fuck,
yeah,
this
awesome.
is a lot better. We'll go with this."
Yeah, this is unreal. I'll just bring this up. So this is the Road to UFC that's happening. It's the 23rd of May, and this is the fight card. This is you, and this is your opponent. So I can't pronounce that, but Yuji, I'm just going to call him. He looks quite a prodigious fighter in his own right. From Japan, 11-0 is his record. So yeah, very interesting. I think from watching a few of his fights, he looks more like a traditional Muay Thai fighter, like that his stance is more narrow. His guard looks more like a Muay Thai sort of style, but he's got obviously all the tools. But is that just my sort of layman's take, or is he come from?
I would say he's a little bit closer to like a karate, taekwondo type, more karate than anything.
Oh, okay.
I think he's in recent years been developing like a little bit of like a Muay Thai base as well to add to his game. But if you look at like the majority of his early fights, which pretty much all of his fights are on YouTube, so I've gone to watch a lot of it. And he used to always have a very wide base, always only ever blitz. Now I'd say he's a little bit more multi-dimensional on the feet than he used to be. I think largely that would be from him also doing some training at Killcliff, which I believe he's moved to, with like, you know, Gilbert Burns and guys like that.
Oh wow.
So yeah. So yeah, I think he's a good guy. I think he's good. I do, however, think that I think 11-0. There's different types of 11-0.
Yeah, sure.
I think he's good. Don't get me wrong, but I don't base that off of his record. I think a lot of the guys that he's fought have had very neutral records. If you were to look at it,
sure.
A lot of them are like 20-18 or 10-9. Like it's guys that like aren't unfamiliar with losing, you know. And I think he's good. He's young, hungry. He's like he's my age. He's able to throw with some solid power. and he gets after it whenever he fights. So, you know, I think it makes sense that he would beat like guys that are a little bit like I said, a lot of the guys that he's fought are a little bit older. You know, they're like more like 35. They're all a little bit slower than him, and a little bit more passive. Whereas I'm not a passive fighter. Like, I think he does really well against someone who's passive. But like, if you watched any of my fights, I'm never passive. You know, any of my fights.
100%. Yeah. Very, very relentless and sort of pressure. In fact, I wanted to just bring up, there's a clip here of you talking post-fight, which made me, we were talking about that killer instinct when you sort of smell blood with their opponent and then capitalizing on that. And I actually thought this was really interesting, like the mindset. So I'll just play this.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with the winner of our co-main event here at Eternal 79. Here we are again, Don Marfan. Congratulations, an impressive victory. Your last time out at Eternal 77, we spoke after your unanimous victory. You weren't very happy. You were like, nah, that was no good. Tell me, how you feeling now after that performance?
I'm feeling so much better, man. My coaches from the beginning would kind of roasted me a little bit for the last one, like, why'd you not put him away? I definitely felt in my last fight I could have put my opponent away, and I was just enjoying the moment a little bit too much, but I sniffed out the kill here, and I definitely took it. So, yeah, feeling awesome.
You certainly did. The grappling control, the top control looked beautiful. I mean, I saw you trying to set up that chin strap a few times. Once you had it locked, I mean, there was seemingly no escape from there. Did you know it was done?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think the pressure that I can put on these guys from on top is nothing like anything else in the country. That submission pops up for free, and that's what my coaches, especially Steve Compton, was really drilling into me, saying that, like, man, I want you hunting for the kill. Your submissions are good. You got to show them off. I really like the violent finishes, but, like, man, those finishes are there all day. So I took that one.
Yeah, I really liked that that mindset of, like, that you can, that these submissions would pop up and you pop up for free, and that you could sniff them out. And yeah, I mean, so what's your sort of thoughts on that? Like, that is that part of the Compton sort of mindset where you just you got to take what presents itself on the day?
Yeah. So I like I talked about before, like I always, like, when I was younger and like an amateur, like I was always able to have the ability to, like, go for submissions. And then I had and be very successful with it. Like, I had a high submission rate from a bunch of different positions. But when I made a decision, like, in my career, that I wanted to be, like, more well-rounded in my grappling approach. I kind of looked at what I found exciting in terms of grappling, and I did find submissions exciting to watch, but I really, really liked watching ground and pound and, like, damage, like a damage-based approach. So I consciously made a change in my training, like, almost like didn't allow myself to go for submissions, just because I wanted to, like, really work this damage side of things. And like if you notice, like, the fights in my amateur career that I submitted my opponents, it was when I got put on my back. One, because I had, like, good guard submissions, but a lot of it was like, shit, well, this didn't go fully to plan, I better just stub him, you know, and, like, and just, like, finish the fight there. But really, I was going into fights, I'm like, I just want to, like, hit this guy a whole lot. Like, if I just wanted to submit people, I could go to a jiu-jitsu comp and I could go submit people. But I really, really like hitting people with ground and pound. There's something phenomenal about it. It feels powerful. It feels
exciting to watch as well.
Artistic. It feels artistic when done properly, you know, like, it feels like I could really show, like, a little bit of, like, art with it. And yeah, the fight previous to the one that you just showed, I reckon I would have landed like 30 to 40 elbows, like, pretty fucking clean on the guy's head. Like, there was some where, like, when you watch the stream back, it cracked so loud because I was in his close guard and dropped my whole weight in it, that you can hear the crack sound through
smack.
the audio, and like the whole crowd would like, ooh, let out a big ooh, and but it was at the point in that fight where I was cracking with elbows, I was landing big shots. I literally saw the referee start to creep closer, and I slowed it down because I was having too much damn fun, and I did not want him to stop it. So I was like, all right, slow it down for a bit, take a breather, back to damage, right? This was me coming back from my first loss, and I was just like, in my time off, I blew my orbital in my time off, and then also in the loss I had some damage. So I had to take a fair chunk of time off, and I was just so excited to go back in there and crack someone. So I didn't want the ref stopping it. I didn't want him ruining my fun. I was enjoying myself too much. But then, yeah, like after the fight, my coaches were like, what are you doing? Like, we know you can submit people. Like, why are you? We know you could have finished him. Why didn't you finish him? And I was like, explained I was just having too much fun. And they explained to me, well, that's not exactly what the UFC wants. The UFC wants finishes. They look at that. That's a prerequisite for like trying to get into the UFC. That you need to have a high finish rate. So I went, all right, sick. My coach had told me, I want you hunting for submissions all the time in training. And I changed it. I was going for guillotines, elbows, guillotines, dust chokes, everything, nice. 10 arm chokes, just hunting everything like a finish.
Yeah, awesome.
And it made my game way more threatening because there was so many different things that people had to deal with. And it came out in that fight. Like I went elbow, 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 guillotine, elbow, 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 guillotine, and then put him to sleep with the blood squirting out of his head.
That one, that's brutal.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, I didn't actually know that he was cut. I landed the elbows, but there was no visible blood. It wasn't till I started squeezing the guillotine, all the pressures built up in his head, that it started pouring out of all the different cuts that I made.
Wow.
Yeah. And there was I remember there was a little puddle of blood in the corner of the cage, which like he woke up in. And I didn't know what it was from. Like my training partner was like, you did that. I was like, oh, what? No, I don't think I cut him at all. They're like, you definitely cut him. Have a look. And I look it over and he's covered in blood. I'm like, oh, fuck, I cut him. There you go.
Yeah, one of them, the commentator talks about painting the canvas with the blood. That was funny. But yeah, your strikes landed versus thrown, like the ratio is always super high. I noticed like in one of these fights, it was 88 of 104 strikes landed to thrown. And I think there was another one. So 86 of strikes thrown and 72 landed. So it's a high percentage compared to some of the other fighters as well. There definitely seems to be a lot of just, and I think that's what the UFC look for as well. I'm assuming, strikes landed. But one thing, because you're talking about that killer instinct, I just wanted to pull up a video of your opponent. He's actually quite formidable, but it's the guy who he's fighting. He manages to, he sort of gets a few past the guard because he's got quite a wide guard, I noticed, and it's kind of low as well, even though it's a relatively narrow stance. And he just hits him with a few straight crosses, but he then doesn't capitalize. Like he just kind of lets him reset, and then he goes back to just these Muay Thai kicks, and then ends up finishing it. So, but yeah, I'll just show just so the audience can get a feel for the, your opponent that's coming up here. Yeah, so that's interesting. So Yuji gets rocked like a little bit, but the other guy got a couple of straight punches, but then he just goes back and then just goes back. And
it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Yeah, there seems to be a lot of fighters out there that do that are a little bit passive, like I said, and I think that's a really good example of a guy that's that was very passive, especially like if you're the longer fighter, you want to keep it long. If you're the shorter fighter, you want to keep it nice and short, right? Like Steve Compton, my coach, has an analogy. It's like, well, if someone has a sword and someone has a dagger, who wins the fight? And the usual answer that people has is, well, a sword. It's like, because it's longer. Well, it's like, well, not if you're in a phone booth and you're fighting the guy. Now the dagger's pretty good and the sword's not so great. So like essentially, he did all the work, that other fighter, to get on the inside and to land, and then he just gave it all away. He stepped back into sword range, which is not a good idea. It's bizarre. Like he put himself back in the only range that he could actually get hurt in. So
yes,
yeah,
exactly.
I don't think that's something that I would do stylistically. And again, like my fight style is so pressure orientated.
Yeah, exactly. So then I'll show a highlight to highlight this point. I'll show you something that you did in a very recent fight.
Don Marfan, he's just got superb grappling once it hits the ground. Superb MMA grappling. He's got vicious ground and pound on top. The striking, like I said, it's really improved. Tom Pratt known for his ability to jab long and calf kick, but this is not where he'd want to be this early on with a dangerous Marfan. Splitting his base, just trying to drag him back down to the mat. This is Don Marfan's world, Ben.
Yeah. So you sort of, it almost looked like a cross or maybe an overhand, but then immediately you pressured straight in there, closed the distance, and then just took his back, and it was like that was the end of the fight.
Yeah. I think I'm better at entering in on takedowns than anyone in the country, without a doubt. And then I think I'm better than like pretty much everyone when it comes to that worldwide. I think that's a skill that I've excelled in. Thanks to Steve Compton, who really showed me like how to understand the timing. We've done a lot of drills with like timing and rhythm to understand like when I can enter, when's the safe times to enter. After my first pro loss, all the fights from then on, which I think I've had like, I don't know, like I think it was like four and one since then or so, maybe 5-1 since then. 5-1 since then. I haven't been hit while I've been coming in. While I've come in on a takedown, I have not been hit a single time. And that's a timing thing. That's me like understanding when I'm safe to enter, when I'm not safe to enter. And I think it's a really underutilized skill. You see a lot of really good wrestlers in like UFC level, and they'll kind of like, they'll shoot, but they'll wear a bunch of damage coming in, and then they get in on a sloppy takedown. If you look at any of those takedowns I'm doing on them, like I'm immediately taking them down. And it's like, there's certain positions that if you end up in with someone who's good at wrestling, like a tight body lock, where you're chest to chest, it's like you could put Jordan Burroughs in front of me and I'm still going to take that guy down from there, right? Because it's a bad situation. It's like hard to work yourself out of that. So then like, that's why when you had someone like GSP back in the day who actually knew how to time takedowns versus a bunch of guys who should on paper destroy him at wrestling. Well, he entered in super clean on a really deep position on them, and he made them look silly as a result.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's about getting deep and those angles, opening up those angles where it's you can sort of get in without taking too much damage. But some of that must just be instinct as well. Maybe you're just sort of born naturally with that sort of instinct or reflexes or something. But it's refreshing to see, because a lot of fighters don't.
I can tell you that I was not born with those a natural ability in that area. There'd be old clips of me sparring, man. I used to be so bad, far from natural. My timing on trying to enter in on the takedown was atrocious. That's none of that is natural. That's all built skills that like I've worked very, very hard to get. Yeah. And I think it's more like, I think it's, look, one thing I've done well in my career is I've always been able to kind of identify things that are going to be very beneficial to me, and then like put a lot of energy into that, right? So like when I first started training, I was training out of like a fairly low level gym at first, and but one thing that it did have was my wrestling coach, who I still talk to, and I still work with, and he was a NCAA D1 wrestler. So he wrestled at that highest level over in the US in college. And I really quickly went, oh, okay, this is a guy that I need to learn this stuff from. I really quickly went, all right, well, this is a skill that's so unique, and no one in Australia is really doing this stuff. That American folk style of wrestling, you can see the influence in it all the time in my game. I'm grabbing those wrist rides. I'm being able to hold someone down using my legs while my hands are free. That's because in American folk style wrestling, you can't join your hands on the back.
Right.
So I've always had an ability to kind of be like quite ambidextrous with my approach to like top riding and control, which again is a unique skill. But straight away I picked up like my wrestling coach, Eric. I was like, man, like I need to follow this guy around. Like I need to learn anything that he's got to offer, because I knew that that would be such a big ticket in my way outside of the local circuit to eventually be able to make it international. And then when I moved to Team Compton, I met Steve Compton, and he has this phenomenal understanding of combat in general, but then also, like I said, that timing and that understanding of like how a grappler should be able to impose themselves on strikers. And really quickly I clicked on to like, okay, now this is not even just a skill that's unique in this country. This is a skill that's unique worldwide. And I think that's what's going to make a huge difference in my game when I make it to the international circuit, is that I'm doing this thing that other people aren't doing. And I think most fighters that do really well have to have some element of that. You know, they can't be doing the soft standard stuff, because or else people have trained to deal with that, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, it's amazing that you have access to these sort of elite trainers, like the masters of their own disciplines, and you can take a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And yeah, I mean, in Australia, I think sometimes we do have access to some really prodigious, really skilled people, and it sort of take it for granted a little bit. But yeah, you can learn a lot from these guys, and certainly, obviously, you have. One of the things that resonated with me just then is when you were talking about that American style wrestling. This exchange just reminded me of a Matt Hughes thing. I think I talked about it earlier. I'll just play a clip. It's only 30 seconds.
Yeah, hard left kick from Michael Stanoff. That one really found a home. And here's that. He just sticks to guys like glue, John Marfan. He's so good at dragging the fight down to the mat. Those guys at Compton, they've got an unusual style of cage wrestling. And look at that from the street Buddha in the middle of the cage now. Michael Stanoff all with his arm trapped as well. Content for half guard for the minute. John Marfan might look to pass, and his leg.
I mean, that was epic. Once you sort of slammed him right into the middle of the cage, like almost picked him up and took him, it just reminded me of that early Matt Hughes when he did that. And that was his American wrestling background that I think that it reminded me of. And then, but it was interesting, you got into that side guard, side control, and then you were sort of almost playing with it a little bit. But that was so cool to see. Like, you don't see that very often.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that cage takedown that I do as well is it has some influence from like a judoka that I've trained with as well. Like something that we're very big on at Compton's is like we've had a bunch of different experts in different areas come through the gym, and it's always like Steve's always pushed on us to like learn different things from like each of these different people. You know, we've had like top ranked boxers come through the gym. We've had top ranked judoka come through the gym. We've had like top ranked jiu-jitsu guys, like world level jiu-jitsu guys come through the gym. So it's really good to be able to learn these different things from these different people. And that takedown that I did on the cage, that was initially like a wrestling style takedown, but a judoka had actually showed me how to get more height and elevation from it. So I was able to really lift people up with it. And that kind of has become like one of my, I guess, signature takedowns.
That's awesome, man. No, people love to see that shit. I reckon that's really cool. And so, you know, before we sort of start to wrap it up, I just wanted to say, yeah, check out Dom's Instagram. So this was this was one of the ones that I was talking about where I was saying it's an intro. You got like a bit of a judo sweep there. That's an interesting approach.
Good thing I was so cool about it after I landed the sweep.
Yeah, did you see that?
Me running around celebrating like an idiot. God damn it, Dom! Make it look like it happens more often.
So your Instagram has actually got some really good sort of self-defense stuff on there as well. It looks like you're talking about these defense to single leg. I'm not sure if you can hear. Can you hear that, or would I have to open it as a separate tab?
No, I can't hear it.
Can't hear it. Okay. But yeah, you can check it out. So what's your Insta? Was it at Street
Buddha MMA?
Yeah. So Street Buddha MMA, but underscores between the Street Buddha and then MMA. Yeah, gotcha. So this was cool because I mean, there's no sound here, but I think you were talking about you can transition into to go get the back, but it's funny because I also sometimes will try and get the DAS off this or like an anaconda, like go through the front. I mean, you set it up to break the posture and everything. I think that's important. But yeah, here, see, I would just go straight into an anaconda, but you've gone to the back there. That's interesting.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I guess you've got all these things available. But the DAS and I just think that they're brutal. Whenever they're done to me, I'm always like, that was super painful. And then so that's why I like to try and,
for sure.
Yeah. So do you have any other, I guess, I mean, people can go to your Insta and learn a few techniques and things like that, but do you have any, I guess, advice for like amateur fighters or like up and coming fighters? One thing that always I took away from John Danaher, hearing him talk about just passing hips, like when it comes to, even if it's in exchange, you're being taken down and you're taking someone else down, you always just got to get past their hips. Like, and if you can get out of their legs, then you're instantly in a better position. And I've taken that on, and I sort of try and focus on that a little bit in my training. Is there anything that you think of like that you just think you might be, good quality, advice, or like that might be ubiquitous, like it might apply to a lot of different circumstances, or anything in particular that you can sort of recommend?
I think number one thing I'd say is time on the mats. I think like I heard one guy that I used to train very regularly with. His name's Aaron Blackie, very, very, very high level guy. And he, I talked to him about like, oh, what do you reckon's the perfect amount ratio for like training, because there's different pros that train once a day. There's different pros that train twice a day, 3 times a day, whatever. Like personally myself, I train usually at a camp 3 to 5 times per day.
Wow.
And like, cause I'll just live at the gym, right? Like I drive to the gym in the morning and I stay there all day, just training or eating essentially.
That's epic.
Yeah. And look, he said, yeah, like, I do recognize that there's a lot of like, good guys that train once per day, twice per day. He's like, but I'll tell you this much. I've never met someone in my life who trains at least 3 times per day that sucks at fighting. I was like, wow, that's a really good point. Like, it's like you could go, oh, well, this other fighter, he trains this amount. But it's like, man, when you're putting in those type of hours, it's impossible to be bad, because like you're just so used to training and you get so much benefit out of it. I also then, my next piece of advice would be Do you trust your coaches? If you trust your coaches, listen to everything that they have to say and just like zone in whenever they're talking. If they tell you to be there more, be there more. If they tell you, we want you to get this out of this session, get this out of that session. If you don't trust your coaches, go find another gym, right? Where you do trust your coaches at, you know, like there needs to be like kind of that relationship, especially in MMA fight culture. It's like, it's a scary thing walking into a cage, you know, like it's like so many people are about to watch you either get your hand raised or get fucked up. Like it could be either one of those, you know.
Sure.
So you need to have people that you trust around you. If you don't trust them fully, it's bad things are waiting to happen.
Okay.
So I would say probably my main advice, if I had to pick a third one, I'd say persistence is everything. I started off my career very rough. So like in that, in my MMA tapology that you were looking at with my record, that doesn't show all of my fights across all disciplines. When I, including boxing, kickboxing, and Muay Thai, in my first 4 fights, I was 1-3. 2 of those losses via knockout in the first minute. I had everyone around me telling me like this sport isn't for you, like you should probably quit. And I just knew that if I was going to persist, that that you really can make anything happen. Like with someone's 100% absolute attention to whatever they decide to do, I think you really can make anything happen.
Awesome, man. That's really inspiring. So yeah, thanks for sharing that story. We should probably wrap it up. I should probably let you get back to training. You've obviously got the road to UFC coming up in a couple of weeks in Shanghai. So I can't believe that you got to fly. I mean, do you got to fly into Shanghai and then it takes you a while to acclimatize, or how long before the fight do you fly in?
Yeah, so I'll be going there a week before the fight.
Wow.
So just to kind of like, I'm also a shit sleeper. So like, I like to get in whatever bed I'm going to be sleeping in, and I get in there like quite early. Yeah. Yeah,
gotcha. Yeah. Wow. So you're right at the business end. So hopefully, you know, everyone, all the Hexicans out there can kind of, you know, watch. So we can watch this. Your fight on Fight Pass through the Eternal MMA, is that right? Or is it the road to UFC?
Yes. It should be. It should be through Fight Pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you can watch.
Awesome, man.
Road to UFC on.
Yeah, cool. So I'll just quickly see if there's anything else I missed in the chats. Basically, just people wishing you, you know, good luck. Here we go. Cal said, how was that Ben versus Uric Jr. fight? Best match I've seen in years. I don't know that one. Not sure. Yes, master coach listening, doing what's important. And then, yeah, people were sort of saying good luck. Hi-ho Hex. Thanks for that. So, yeah, I guess like just in terms of like wrapping it up, I guess like the last question to sort of tie this into what we do here at the DeFi Down Under is, I guess we talk about, you know, crypto and Hex and Pulse Chain and this sort of stuff. Do you, you know, what's your take? Are you familiar with Hex and Pulse Chain and some of these cryptos? And what I guess like what's your take on crypto is this something that you're into or?
Yeah, I haven't gotten into it too much myself. Our mutual friend Nick Eddy has like helped me out a little bit with it. You know, like he gave me a fight bonus last time, and he's invested in crypto for me. To be honest, I'm a interesting case. Like I'm pretty much an idiot when it comes to anything outside of fighting. Just because, like I said, it's kind of all I do. But I've always thought to myself, like if I was going to if I was doing anything that wasn't fully fixated on fighting, like I would definitely like to get into that. And I'd like to get better at investing my money.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think there is definitely some overlap. It's a high risk sort of asset class, and certainly MMA fans are sort of, you know, not risk adverse. And I think that, you know, people sort of understand that you need, you know, financial independence, financial stability to be able to survive and to protect your family and all this sort of thing. So it sort of ties into that a lot. So yeah, I would say just people check out pulsechain.com. That's just recently had an update. And there's probably hex.com, a few other things that you can look at, but there's plenty of people on X that are happy to discuss. And then I guess the thing is, do you need to thank any sponsors? Are you looking for sponsors? Like, what happens there? Like, if you get into the UFC, are you able to put crypto logos and things on your walkout shorts, or is that not allowed?
Not on the walkout shorts, but I do have a supporter shirt that I get made, and I'm doing it in a bit of a series. So currently I'm wearing it. I might turn the light on real quick. This is my most recent shirt, which is Street Footer Bloodsport, which is essentially like the street footer in a coliseum. And my next supporter shirt will be coming out soon. And I had one before this. But like each of them is like kind of like a different design, and each of them I'm going to be I kind of want to be like telling a bit of a story with it. And those shirts, my supporter shirts, I always get like the logos on the back, as you can see, the pulse chain.
That's awesome.
There you go.
That's really cool.
Yes, to kind of show like the people that are supporting me, you know.
Wicked, man. No, that's really cool, man. I better let you go, because thank you so much for chatting with me today and for sort of sharing your journey with us. I think there's a lot of people that are really going to be cheering you on for the Road to UFC fight that's coming up. And yeah, we just wish you the best for it. And yeah, really hope to see, you know, your name up in lights at in the UFC one day. And just wish you all the best in that journey, man.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
No worries at all. All right, bro. Well, I'll let you get back to it. And thanks everyone for watching. Thanks to the viewers, you know, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Is there anything else you wanted to say before we wrap it up?
No, I just thank you everyone for tuning in and listening to me ramble on.
Legend. Nah, man. I think everyone would have enjoyed those insights. It's pretty rare that we get someone of your caliber to sort of chat to. So when it comes to MMA, that's pretty privileged sort of insights there. So thank you again. And wish you all the best in your fights, and I'll let you get back to training, mate. Catch you next time.
Thank you, bro. I'll see you later.
Cheers, mate. Thanks, chat.